Here we are again, sitting in front of the barbed wire fence. Everyone knows exactly when they are sympathetically reactive, because this is when we feel troubled, when we feel bothered, irritated, obsessed, or infuriated by something, and we can't seem to stop thinking about it. And this is exactly when we should talk out loud with ourselves alone, so that we can begin to experience the regulating effects of our embodied language and the dysregulating effects of our usual way of talking, which is disembodied language. Yeah, in your usual way of talking, you do not listen to yourself, and therefore you are dysregulated without even realizing it. But once you begin to listen to yourself, you will be regulating yourself with your language. So language, your use of language has a regulating effect on you, on your nervous system. Yeah, when I say, you know when you are sympathetically reactive, I'm referring to the sympathetic activation of your autonomic nervous system, which is the fight, flight, freeze response. And you know exactly when you're fighting or fleeing or freezing. You know that because it feels terrible. Yeah. And so whenever you feel terrible about anything, and whenever you are having all sorts of problematic thoughts, you believe in inner language, so you believe that you have thoughts, you should start to talk with yourself, and you should start to listen to yourself, so that you can begin to notice that there is a really big difference between listening to yourself while you speak and not listening to yourself while you speak. Because normally, what you call normal, you don't listen to yourself while you speak. What I call normal and what I call the correct way of using language is the way of speaking in which we all listen to ourselves while we speak. That is embodied language. So once you start to speak out loud with yourself, you can't miss it. There is a big, big difference between your embodied language, in which you listen to yourself while you speak, and your disembodied language, in which you almost always are busy and you don't listen to yourself. You try to listen to others, or you try to make other people listen, but you're not listening to yourself. That's your usual way of talking. You can hear the difference. You can hear the difference between your embodied language and your disembodied language. Because your voice, it changes as you shift from disembodied language to embodied language. But it also changes when you shift again from embodied language to disembodied language. And in disembodied language, you don't like to hear it. You don't want to listen. Yeah, that's why you don't listen. And in embodied language, you like to hear what you're saying, and that's why you're listening. So when we say to ourselves that we are presumably thinking something, we express the only language that we are able to express. And we haven't all of a sudden acquired another language, I mean, let's say you speak English, but you're not all of a sudden speaking Russian or Hindi or something like that, that doesn't happen. No, you can only use the words that you have. You can only speak the language that you have. So when you stop for a moment in your busy life, and when you take some time for yourself and you begin to actually speak with yourself, to hear yourself, you speak the language which you've always had, but which you have never optimally used because you weren't listening to yourself. And now that you listen to yourself, you're going to use that language effectively. You're going to use that language to say what you want to say what you're capable of saying with the language that you already have. So you're not all of a sudden, fabricating a new kind of language. No, you just notice the difference between disembodied language and embodied language. And yes, you prefer your embodied language. You abhor your disembodied language. You don't want to have disembodied language. You never choose to have disembodied language. It happened without your consent. You were automatically involved in it. You were conditioned to have embodied language, but you never wondered, like, why am I always having disembodied language? Once you begin to ask yourself that question, you just realize, like, you don't want to have it, and you stop it. So yeah, once you notice that difference between disembodied language and embodied language, everything is changing. By speaking with yourself and by listening to yourself, you practice the contingency for embodied language. So when I sit here and with this beautiful sun coming up over the hills there, when I sit here by myself and I listen to myself, I practice contingency management. I create with my language, with my words, with my way of speaking, I create a contingency in which embodied language can and will occur. I'm listening to myself. So I create and maintain the contingency in which I perform optimally. And we know when this is the case, we know for sure that this is the case, because our embodied language, it just flows unbroken. And it makes total sense to us. Everything what we say, it is coherent, it makes sense, and it also reveals our language enlightenment. So again, I'm addressing again today my language enlightenment, because language enlightenment, my ongoing embodied language, is such a delight. And that language enlightenment assures me that I am without language when I am done talking and writing. I don't have any inner language once I have embodied language. The illusion of inner language only occurs because of our involvement in disembodied language. In other words, after we have engaged in embodied language, the illusion of inner language is temporarily gone. It may not be completely gone because it can be triggered again, just like your disembodied language can be triggered again, even though you've had some embodied language. But if you speak with yourself again, you will become more confident about the fact that there never was any inner language. So your history of conditioning with disembodied language will be triggered again, and it will produce again this crazy idea that there is internal language, when in fact there isn't. And each time you say to yourself what you presumably think, your disembodied language stops. So here I am again telling you that whenever you have a problem, that is an ideal opportunity to be hearing your disembodied language and to stop your disembodied language and to start having embodied language. And another way of describing the aforementioned is that whatever your problem seems to be is always an opportunity to shift from disembodied language to embodied language. Surely, problem solving in embodied language is an overt thing, not a covert thing. And the whole issue of imagining that there is such a thing as covert problem solving, that you have to think about it, that you solve it internally, by having a conversation with yourself, by thinking about it in your head, that is a complete falsehood, because math and physics and chemistry or any other science, it was and it will always be based on the overt nature of language, not on anyone's internal whatever mind or conversation you imagine to have with yourself. So the reason that we were all, made to believe that intelligence is actually a covert thing, that intelligence is an inner thing and not an overt thing, yeah? Because in embodied language, obviously, our intelligence speaks because we are adhering to the overt nature of language. But the reason that we were all made to believe, we were punished if we didn't believe it, yeah, we were made to believe that that our intelligence is a covert thing. It is because of our disembodied language, which forced on us the illusion of inner language. And of course, in disembodied language, listening means always listening to others, yeah, listening to authority outside of you, because we were coerced to to listen. We were coerced to listen to those who presumably they were more important, they were more powerful, and they were more knowledgeable than us. But our embodied language, it gives us back the reins over our own language. So simply stated, what we say in embodied language is true because we say so. Yes. And of course this means that we speak our individual truth. We express our individually lived experience with our ongoing embodied language. So, you know, in my early 20s, when I for the first time discovered the difference between my embodied language and my disembodied language, I spoke with my father about this, and my father, I said to my father, I said that I was enlightened, and my father, he totally freaked out on me because I asserted that I was enlightened because I was having embodied language. And he just barked back at me, "How do you know that you are enlightened?" and he was infuriated with me that I was opposing his authority. And I said, "Because I say so." And that would make him, he was mad with me, he was crazy mad because I wasn't listening to him. I had to escape for the house to prevent him from beating me. And I have never since that moment stopped talking with myself and listening to myself. And I'm actually grateful to my, my domineering, punitive father, yeah, my abusive father, because he was also abusive. Because it was due to him that I struggled so much with authority in my life, and that I was finally able to, fully assert my own authority with my embodied language, as I'm doing right now, in spite of this noise that you hear that is coming by from this airplane, and in spite of the barbed wire everywhere that is, of course, representing our disembodied language. The sun is shining, I'm having my embodied language, and I speak with my own authority. And I am without language once I stop talking.